What's going on, you guys? So this is the third installment of my Secrets of Deving series, where I try to highlight ways of making extra money in the trenches, safer alternative to trading, or maybe you trade all day every day anyways, so implementing this in your strategy to make some extra profits is always a good idea. And for this episode, I want to go over some platforms that are very underlooked that you can focus on generating fees. Just fix my typo right here that I just noticed. There's 5 platforms that, once again, people don't really talk about. I think you guys should know about them and try them out because you can make way more money deving on them than these 2 platforms that everybody talks about on Twitter, on YouTube videos. The reason being is because they're implemented in development tools such as Uxento, the one I keep talking about in every single episode of my series. The one that allows you to create and vamp coins. If we try to create a coin, platforms that we see, the choice is only Bunt Fun or Bunt Fun. That is pretty cool because that's the most popular platforms by far. They get like 90% of all the volume, maybe 95%. All the news coins, all the biggest meme coins are launched here. But the bad thing about them are their fees. So Bunt Fun takes 1% fee pre-bonding and 0.3% fee after bonding. But you, as the creator, on average receive about 0.05% of the fees. That amount is extremely small. It's pretty good that you get some bonus, but let's go over what else they provide. So you also get a bonus of 0.5 sol if the coin graduates. That's always super cool, you know. You created something you didn't even expect it to run, but then it bonds and you make $100. Nice little bonus. Another cool thing about Bunt Fun is that it's free to launch, but only if you get at least one buyer in the coin, because the way Bunt Fun works is the first buyer covers the fee of launching a coin. They did that in order to get more people to launch coins, saying that it's free to do so. Thus, you know, everybody in the world creates coins because it's free, and if it goes, well, you can make $100 for just coming up with an idea. Pong.fun has what I call literal trash fees. Literally, you get like nothing, bro. You can make like 10 successful coins that graduate, and a week later you're gonna get like $300. When Bunt Fun used to be bigger than Bunt Fun and everybody made coins here, I would be deving, 10, 20, 30 coins a week. I would come to my profile on Bunt Fun at the end of the week and I'd find like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in fees, some of them from graduation, some of them from the percentage, and that was a really, really nice bonus. On Bunt Fun, I can dev a lot of cool shit, and then I come a week later and I get like $200, $300 in fees. So basically non-existent. You get some radium fees, but basically it doesn't really matter. You don't get that much. But there's platforms that are way more generous and allow you to generate way more fees. The first one being Jupiter Studio. It's a new launchpad from Jupiter themselves where they allow anybody to launch a meme coin. And their percent pre-bonding and post-bonding is always 1%, but you get 50% of all the fees, meaning you get 0.5% of money from every single trade. When somebody buys 5 sol, you get 0.5% of that right in your pocket. That allows you to generate way bigger fees, 10 times more than you would on Bunt Fun, and probably like 100 times more than you do on Bunt Fun. So with these coins, the main strategy is to dev something cool and exit on the first pump, or maybe dev something cool, buy with your side wallets, exit a little later on. With these ones, you actually have initiative to continue pushing the coin, to continue pushing the narrative for the coin to be traded as much as possible, because you're actually making a lot of money from people just trading. You don't have to hold the coin, you just, need to put some fuel in the fire. So some examples of coins that I've made on Jupiter, and these ones, obviously, they're way less popular than Bonk and Bunt Fun, so you can't really launch news coins on them, or coins that don't have a strong narrative, a strong community. It's really, really good to come up with some cool idea that people will like and back. So the 2 examples that I've made on Jupiter, one of them is TGM. Actually, before we even go over that, let's go I'll show you how to make coins in Jupiter. So you go jup.ag/studio, or you just Google Jupiter Studio, and it's going to be there in Google. Once you get to this website, you connect your wallet, and you have three options here. So you can just, select the default preset called meme. Coin starts at 16k, migrates at 70. All you need is image, name, and symbol. You can even use AI to come up with it for you, though I don't think anybody ever uses that. Then you have indie, which is higher launch, higher migration market cap. This is apparently for some bigger projects, but nobody ever uses that. So you either use meme if you want to launch something quick, but I use custom. In custom, you can actually choose any initial market cap and any graduation market cap. So for example, I can do it. So we'll launch at $4,000 and graduation will be at say $250,000. Boom. We can do it this way. The way, so the coin I was talking about is called TGM, the Great Migration. Why is it called that? Because the settings I've selected here is starting market cap $10,000, graduation market cap 5 million. So this would be the biggest graduation in meme coin history. All the coins graduate at 70k usually. This one went from 10k to 5 million. Everybody wants to leave their mark on history. And it ended up going to a million several times, as we may see here. What else did I want to say about it? Oh yeah, the fees. Apart from me making money on my side wallets and main wallet on this coin, which wasn't actually that much, I made almost $17,000 in fees. I didn't have to hold the token. I just made a good idea with a good community that got really picked up, and I ended up making $17,000 in that. How crazy is that? If this was Bunt Fun, I would make 1.6k. If this was Bonk, I would probably make like a couple $100. Jupiter allows you to make $17,000. And then there's also TSS, the Solana system. In the time when everybody's fighting against each other, all the founders are trying to dunk on each other, we decided with my friends, because we were deving all of this together, I ended up making 120 Sol on this coin, that we should get everyone together. So we got all the major platforms, created a solar system out of it. Why? Because Jupiter is, a platform in the name of a planet, space, outer space. So we decided that we can give every single launchpad a planet of their own, send everybody 10% of the supply. So I had to pay 40 Solana to buy out this supply and send it to them, never getting my money back. So this coin was actually pretty dangerous to launch because I sent away basically 40 Sol without getting anything back. But the coin did end up getting traction, went to 2 million. I made 120 Sol PNL, plus I ended up making 4.8k in fees. On Bunt Fun, that would be $480. On Bonk Fun, probably $100. So this just goes to show how much extra money you can make on Jupiter if you launch there rather than Bonk Fun or Bunt Fun. But remember, it needs to be a good idea, it needs to be a narrative. If you just launch a random meme, just do Bunt Fun or Bonk, because they have more traction for that. Now, what other platforms do we have? Another one, pretty popular, is Bags app, with a very, very active founder. His name is Finn Bags, and he really likes to interact with projects that launch on his platform. He's trying to help out. He joins communities, he buys the coin, he tweets about it on his Twitter sometimes. We launch things like Paper Bag. So the idea is that, Bonk Fun has useless coin at 400 million. Bunt Fun, that's valueless, and basically a bunch of useless coins on every platform. And we thought, what could be useless on a platform called Bags? And we came up with Paper Bag, because that's pretty much the most useless bag out there, because it's really easy to break, it's very easy to rip, so it's a useless bag. So this ended up going to like 400k. The fees generated from here is like $20,000 as well, because Bags pays way more than anybody else, I would say. You get 2% pre-bonding and 2% post-bonding fee, and you get 90% of the fees. For some reason though, after calculating how much it comes out to be, and for some reason the calculation comes out to about 1%. It was supposed to be 1.8, because 90% of 2 is 1.8, but it comes out to be 1. But still, 1% is twice as much as Jupiter gives you, 20 times as much as Bunt Fun gives you, and pretty much one of the biggest fees you can get. And platform is really good to launch small tokens because you got Finn who will interact, and it launches at 4K market cap. It has normal bonding like Pump Fun at 80K, super easy to launch, and you get so much fees. Then we got Moonshot, which is kind of irrelevant now. It was really popular the day it came out. The fees felt good at first, but then as I found out what the real fees are, it's kind of not as crazy as I thought. You make 0.25 pre-bonding because you get 50% of the fees, and 0.15 after bonding. Also, to launch a coin with them, you can't even launch through a web app. If you go on their website, all you can do is download it on App Store or Google Play. So you actually need to get the app on your phone. And also, it's not specifically on App Store, at least. You cannot get it in every region. I had to get a separate phone where I registered my iCloud in USA, and only then it would allow me to download this. What else? So we got Moonshot, pretty irrelevant, so I just had to go over it, but I don't suggest this one whatsoever. Then we got Believe app. They actually have by far the biggest fees, but it's really hard to launch a good coin there. First of all, it spawns at 40,000 market cap. It migrates at like 90,000 market cap. People do not launch memes on it ever, so you only launch tech projects, tech coins. If you have websites, apps, extension maybe, whatever, anything that has to do with technology, a real project, that's where you launch it. They've tailor-made the whole platform specifically for that. So unless you have a project you don't want to launch there, there's going to be zero traction whatsoever. Also, you make 0% pre-bonding. So you only start making 1.4% since they gave away the biggest percent, 70% of the 2%, which equals to 1.4% after bonding. To get it to bond, most coins that launch there are either LARPs of hacked founders accounts, of hacked project accounts, of hacked app accounts, whatever. That's mostly what happens. They tweet from a big Twitter account that the coin has been launched, people trade it, they make a lot of fees, they dump a lot of bundles, and they make money. And then we've got the last one. It came out literally like a week ago, maybe even 5 days ago, called Bunt Fun. I really like this for newbies especially. It's also a simple bonding curve of launching at 4K, migrating at like 70, 80K, but you make pretty good fees, especially pre-bonding. You make 0.5% since you get 50%, and 0.15 post-bonding. But their bonus of migration is 2 Solana. You literally make $400 if you create something that people like and that people can migrate. Fees are cool. Fees are not the biggest on the market, but that 2 Solana migration bonus, so you can just create every time you come up with something cool, you make it. If one of them catches on, you end up making $400. That's a lot of money, like in a lot of countries. So Bunt.fun, by the way, their website. They have a lot of graduations as well. So 5 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, 40 minutes, 50. So they have like over 10 graduations in the past hour. So every single person here made $400. This one is 156K market cap. So it's very realistic right now to launch something because it just came out as well. So it's popular. These launchpads, they lose popularity pretty damn fast. So you gotta use it as soon as you can. Take advantage of the 2 Sol migration reward. But yeah, this is something very important to consider when you're launching a coin. If you're making a narrative coin, if you have some cool ideas, consider these platforms instead of Bonk or Pump Fun, because you're gonna end up in the long term making way more money. Obviously, if all you specialize in is some news token, something from Twitter Tracker, or if you specialize in vamps, just seeing a bad name, you wanna launch a better name, a better image, also don't do it on these platforms. But other than that, if you have something people can get behind, consider these ones. Abuse the fees, generate money for yourself. So what else did I want to remind you guys? First of all, people keep asking me what Twitter tracker I use here. This is my friend's Twitter tracker. I get access to it for free, but I think very soon I will be creating my own Discord where there will be, for a small subscription, get access to Twitter Tracker, which is pretty expensive to run, developer tools, developers chat, so you guys can come together, create cool narratives and make money. What else? Use Axiom, by far the best platform. Uxento, the best extension to create coins quickly. Memecoin, generate a new coin, all the good stuff. And that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.